Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of LTC Heroes live by Experience Care. I'm always very excited every time I have a new guest on the show, but today I am even more excited because I think her story is super, super nice and super inspiring. So I want to welcome Christina Miles, CNA speaker, author, and caregiving coach to the show. Hi, Christina. How are you?
Hi, Victoria. How are you?
Good. Thank you. I'm so excited to have you on today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
No problem. So, we usually always start this show with the LTC initiation story. I already know your story because we met before, and I think everyone else would love to hear that because it's just such an amazing story. So, could you tell us how you started working in long-term care, what you did before you started working in long-term care, and where you are now?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Ever since I was a little girl, I've always had a passion for caring for people. So it kind of started through babysitting my neighbor's kids. And then it grew to then I would probably during college, like senior year of college, I started working in daycares, working with children. And then from there, just my love for caring for people grew. So then when I was in college, I majored in counseling for children. I wanted to be a counselor, and then I wanted to be a physical therapist. So that's what I studied in school, was to be a physical therapist and a counselor for children. So I did that, and I was probably 3 years in, and I was just the last 14 classes, and I was burnt out. I couldn't pass the last classes, so I was like, I need to take a break. So then during that break, I was kind of reevaluating my life, like what am I going to do? I want to be in the healthcare industry, so um, I was presented with an opportunity to work at a nursing home. So I did that, and they paid for me to become a certified nursing assistant. So I did that, and then I worked with them for a little bit. And then over the years, I kind of have just gone from just building my way up over the years. So,
That's I think that's an amazing story personally, and I think you're so inspiring from kind of like the whole like twist on your career. I think it's awesome. I
well,
am I am really curious on kind of like the learning curve on going from, physical therapy and children counseling and all of that into senior care and getting certified as a CNA. Is there any similarities? Are there any differences?
yeah, so there's definitely similarities and differences. When you work in the facility, you're working with physical therapists, with the nurses, the doctors, so you see kind of what everybody's doing. But it's like, but you don't actually know 100% what they're doing, just because like they're doing their job, you're doing your job. But a lot of times you'll have physical therapists that come in and will be like, I need Mrs. Jones up. They have physical therapy in like 20 minutes. So it's like you're kind of running. And then sometimes too, they'll ask you to assist them. So if they're walking with a resident or a patient, you're behind them with the wheelchair. So you get to see what they're doing. So that was why when I was in school, I was like, well, if I can't be a physical therapist right now, I was like, let me at least kind of get my foot in the door. So that way I'll be exposed to it. So getting to work alongside the nurses and the physical therapists. So being able to kind of see all sides of it. So you definitely do, they do intertwine. They're separate, but they intertwine at the same time.
Awesome. And in terms of, so you got certified as a CNA, you started working in a facility. What was your favorite moment? Or I mean, every caregiver has moments where, where they're with residents and some memories are happy, some memories are sad, some memories are emotional. So do you have a favorite memory?
So I'd say there's not a pinpoint of like a favorite, just because I've worked with over 1,000 patients and in the last 10 years plus. But I'd say my favorite thing that I love is just hearing my patients' stories, connecting with them and hearing what they have gone through. I've had patients that have told me when they were, probably 16 years old or 17 years old, having to flee another country, and then come like leave their whole family behind. They came to this country, by themselves and had to get a job and learn how to speak a language and all that. So those are the stories that really inspire me. And then I worked with another patient, and when she was younger, she was a nun. And so just like hearing that, like that experience, like that was amazing, and when she started, her whole family was against it. And then she did her whole career, and then they reconnected. So just like really, really cool stories like that
Yeah.
just inspire me. And then I work with a lot of people that are in business. So then they tell me, their stories of there was a man, he had a company, it was like 500 employees and stuff, so he's always like, well, you should do this and don't ever do that, and do this investment. So it's really, really cool to just like have conversations. So I'd say that's the biggest thing that I love, is just really connecting with people and like hearing their stories, and the
Yeah.
advice that you get, whether you want it or not, is always, it's very valuable. So
It's like grandparents. I mean, it's pretty
exactly.
similar. Yeah, they have the
Mhm.
best stories and the best advice and
Yeah,
all of that.
totally. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
I remember when we met the first time, you told me that there was something about your care that they really loved. That you told me that some of the residents would tell you, I love your care. So, what is it about the way you provide care and the way you do this job that is so unique?
Thanks for that question. So I would say probably over the years, I have really taken, like, I really care for my patients, and not to say that other people don't. But I almost look at it, because I'm an entrepreneur, have a very entrepreneurial mindset, is what can I do, better for my patients? What do they need? How can I help them? And what I really try to do is serve them before they even have to ask me. So I go in, oh, it feels a little cold in here. Is the temperature okay for you? Do you want it hotter, colder? And then they can say, oh, yeah, can you turn, you're the first person that's asked me that all day, little things like that. Looking and seeing, oh, you don't have any more water. Let me go get you some. Just asking questions, seeing what they need. And that's the biggest thing, is I think why I have been able to succeed in this industry is because I observe and I listen.
Yeah. And you have not just succeeded, but you've written a book about it, which is going to help other people succeed in this industry as well.
Yes.
So, so I want to take a couple minutes to talk about your book. It's called Intentional Caregiving: 10 Principles on How to Become an Exceptional CNA. So, tell me about the idea. So, what gave you the idea to start writing this book?
So I've wanted to write a book since I was a little girl. And it's funny, because I don't know if I've shared this story with you, but I didn't learn how to read or write until I was in fifth grade. I had a pretty severe learning disability. I had this thing where I had to have a speech therapist come when I was probably 3 or 4 years old, to teach me how to say certain words. I couldn't. Letters and stuff like that. So I had a pretty hard time. So probably around like fifth grade, I was like, I want to quit school. I don't want to do this anymore. So then I went to a private school that basically taught me how. So then when I was done, it kind of accelerated me in the areas of like reading and writing. So it was funny, like I was thinking about it the other day, like I went from like hating school and wanting to quit at such a young age to like after I had done it, like writing a book, and people were like, wait, what? So it's pretty awesome. But so yeah, so the book was kind of I've always just been, have been gifted at writing. And so for a long time, I talk with my patients, and they'd be like, you have so many stories and you've worked with so many people. You should write a book. And so for years and years, my patients and their family members and colleagues have just been kept telling me that, like, over and over again. I was just kind of like, okay, yeah, thank you, thank you. But it was kind of like the last year, I was like, okay, like, I'm going to do this. Like, I really want to do this. So I sat down and I reached out to 3 editors, and I heard back from one of them. And so we did a call, And it was kind of like, and within that, what was it, like half hour, I was like, okay, like I'm going to do this. I'm going to write this book. So I started writing the outline, and then literally a week later, COVID hit. And I was like, I don't know if this is really the best time to be writing a book when like it seems like the world is ending. But I was just kind of like, you know what? I already started. Like, I'm just gonna go ahead and continue with this. So for 7 months, I worked in the afternoon, so I did 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. That was my work schedule. So I would work, and then I would get home at midnight, and then from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. I would write, and then I would sleep for a little bit, and then wake up around 9, and then from 10 a.m. to probably about 1, then I would do the recorrections from my editor. So she would email me, and I would do all of that, and then I would leave, like eat, and then leave for work at 2, and then do 3 p.m. again, and then I did that cycle for 7 months, until my book was done. So, and that was all throughout COVID. Like, when patients, family members had to stand outside and write notes and like hold them up, like it was a lot.
I bet. I bet. And we will talk about time management
Yes,
and life work balance in a bit, because I'm pretty sure you have some tips to give
yes,
around that subject.
yes.
I just wanted to show everyone what the book looks like. You guys can get it in Amazon, right?
Yeah,
It's Amazon. Yeah,
yeah. You just go on
it's
Amazon, and then you just type in intentional caregiving, and it'll pop right up.
it's awesome. It's so inspiring.
Oh, thank you.
Um, yeah, it is. So tell us,
I've had a lot of
if
directors reach out and have started getting the book for specifically for the CNAs and their nurses. So that's been pretty cool.
wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So I actually that's perfect for what I'm going to ask you next, which is
Okay.
if a CNA or a young caregiver could take like the two main things that you would want them to take away from the book, what those would be? What would those be?
Hmm. I would say the two big is there's a lot of stories that are in there. So I have like a lot of stories from patients. Um, but I would say again, I probably the two biggest things is observing and then just listening are the two biggest things that have really kind of helped me throughout my career. And sometimes it can be scary, and you start and you don't know what you're doing, but if you just like sit with your patient and you just listen to them, they'll tell you what they need. So,
Right.
and after what they tell you, then you apply it, and
Yeah.
so that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and doing all of that and writing a book for her was not enough. And now you're doing online caregiving coaching too, right?
Yes, yes, I am.
You're unstoppable. So
Thank
tell,
you.
tell us a little bit about what you do and how you coach um, caregiving.
Yeah, so after I wrote the book, I kind of was like, okay, I wrote the book. I did it. I put it out. And then my business coach, he was like, or mentor, he was like, no, he's like, you can't just leave it at that. He's like, you have to help more people. You have to do a wider reach. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, so then I started online caregiving coaching to then be able to, because I was getting so many questions and so many DMs of questions and advice and stuff like that. So I was like, well, let me just jump on a call instead of writing this long email. So so now I do online caregiver coaching for new CNAs and nurses who are thinking about joining this industry or who are in the process of doing this industry. Sometimes after they get done, they'll say, what are the best places to go to? What are the places where I'll make the most money? What is it like taking care of another person? So I'll do that. And then I also then have patients and their family members kind of reaching out, like say after a patient has been discharged and then they go back home, a lot of times for the past 2 months, like myself or other caregivers or healthcare professionals have been caring for them. So then their families are like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know how to shower them or change them or transfer. So I jump on a call and I'll say, this is how you transfer your mom or dad so that, you don't get hurt. They don't get hurt. So I kind of walk them through step by step the process.
That's really cool.
Oh,
That's
thank you.
Yeah, it is. And so if someone wants to reach out to you to ask, questions or jump on a call with you, how do they reach out?
So they can either email me at caregiveracademy1 at gmail.com. So that's my business email. Or a lot of people reach out to me on Instagram, which is just it's Christina Miles, and then it's Caregiver Coach.
Awesome. So moving on to our new topic is the time management and work-life balance, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people have asked you about
Yeah.
because I feel like that's one of the most like one of the biggest challenges in caregiving right now, where whether they work in a senior care facility or not, managing their time, their hours, and their life is a big thing in this industry. So what are the usual tips and advice that you give people when they're trying to improve the work-life balance?
Yeah. So to my students or my clients, what I always tell my students is that you need to kind of say if you're doing full time and it's 3 days a week. If you do 8 hours, it's usually 4 days a week. If you do a 12-hour schedule, it's usually you work 3 days a week. I would say stick to that. Don't go, don't, if they say three, don't do five, because then you've already maxed out your time that, if you want to pick up, or say like that week, you're just like, I'm just exhausted, I don't want to do five. So keep it just at the the minimum that you can do. And then during the week or throughout the month, you have to plan out fun things to do. So whether, I have a coworker that she really likes gardening. So she has like her like weekly gardening club that she meets with people, and she like loves it. And she'll come in and she'll talk about it all week. Like, I can't wait till we do. And oh, and this is the new plant that we, and I'm just listening. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but it's really interesting. So, but, definitely do things that, that you're passionate about, that you love, and you really do kind of have to plan that out and be very intentional about that. um, and then also too, I'd say being in, and I know sometimes people are like, oh, I don't know about it, but looking into therapy, because this industry is beautiful, but it also can be extremely stressful, not just physically, but emotionally. And I think
Yeah.
sometimes too, that's not what too many people talk about. So that's something that's really helped me is seeing someone, and it just helps, and it helps me to be able to do all this. So.
Yeah, I'm glad you talked about therapy because I'm a huge believer that everyone needs, like, we could all benefit from therapy,
Oh,
everyone.
100%.
And but this industry specifically, even more now at like post COVID, like
Hmm.
this sector has seen and has like endured things that not other like you just don't get to like go home at night and just forget about it all. It's
Hmm.
very different. It's much more complex. So I
Yeah.
definitely agree that
Yeah.
therapy is really important and
Yeah,
could
I
help
work
a
at
lot.
a rehab hospital, but there's like close by there's another hospital that's like a bigger hospital. But I pick up sometimes there, and I was there, and I was just listening to some of the CNAs, what they were talking about, and they were like, yeah, they're like, we go in one room, and like someone had like passed away from COVID. And then we had to do, all of that, the aftercare, and just dealing with that emotionally. And then like 20 minutes later, go into someone else's room and like give them a shower. And so
Mhm.
it's just like, I couldn't even imagine, like, and a lot of times like you're in it, so you're just doing, and then you get home and you're like, sometimes it's very hard to process like what you just experienced.
Of
And
course.
if your partner, like, they try to be empathetic, or help our family members, but a lot of times like it's hard, and sometimes it can be hard to put into words,
Yeah.
what you've actually gone through. And then you go to sleep, and then you wake up and you do it again. So
Yeah. And if
uh
you're with a partner or family that do not know, like cannot empathize, I mean, they empathize, but they don't work in the same sector as you do. So
mhm.
they don't really understand what you're going through.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it can be hard. So, a lot of times two people will say, "Oh, well, I'll just talk to my husband or I'll just talk to my wife or my kids." And I'm like, that's good, but then, like you need that extra professional help that can, you can talk to them and they say, "Okay, now let's put these action plans in place,"
For
so
sure.
that you're not feeling so stressed or that you're not feeling so overwhelmed. Better than like your husband or wife can do.
Yeah, of course. So the next topic that I want to go into is related to kind of the career path of being a CNA, because I've heard a lot of kind of people saying that, being people think have this negative perception of kind of being a CNA is very it doesn't allow you to grow much more. It doesn't allow you to do many things. But I think you are the best example of kind of like what you can do being a CNA, and all the other business opportunities that you can get in this career. So I would love for you to kind of talk a little bit about what you're working on right now, what you've accomplished to kind of inspire younger people out there that are thinking about becoming a CNA, and kind of show them what they can accomplish.
Oh, thank you for that. And yeah, you're right. Kind of like when you become a nurse, or when you're a CNA, a lot of times the next step is, okay, I'm going to become a LPN or a RN, a nurse, and so then that kind of leaves for someone like me that so many of my patients are like, oh, well, you do such a good job as a CNA, you should become a nurse, and I'm like, well, I love what nurses do and I have so much respect for them and everything, but I just know that that's not where what I want to do with my life, where I could be. So I'm like, I'm going to stay here. But then it was hard too, because it was kind of like, well, I've kind of hit the, not, you're never going to master something, but when you've kind of got to here and then the next thing is like here and you're like, well, I don't want to go there. So what do you do? Yeah, so it was just kind of, I've always wanted to start a business. So I wrote the book and then I'm building that out to be able to help other caregivers and healthcare professionals, how to level up your care game while also living the life that you want and you deserve. Because it's very stressful, but it's also very rewarding. So it's like, how do you balance those two out? So that's what I love and I'm passionate about, is helping people to do that. So that's kind of one career path that I've done. The book is another one. I do speaking, so if people want me to come to their facilities, I can kind of speak to their nurses and their CNAs. So yeah, so I think there's a lot that you can do within the care. I have a friend that they'll go to people's houses, so they do private caregiving, where they're able to kind of charge what they want and create the hours that they want. So there are things that you can do, but you definitely do have to kind of become creative with it, because there's not as many opportunities or routes that you can do as a caregiver or CNA.
Yeah. And tell us about the new thing that you're going to do, which is kind of concierge for post-op people, right? That are going to fly
Oh, yes.
you in and take care of them after like a surgery, which I think is awesome.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I added another service, which is how you were saying, the concierge post-op caregiving. So it's basically after people have had surgery, whether it's medical, like a hip done or knee replacements, or cosmetic. So saying maybe getting their breasts done, or getting a Brazilian butt lift, doing those type of surgeries. After, when they're recovering, I'll go to their house and then kind of stay with them and take care of them throughout their recovery process.
That's
And I
awesome.
do travel for that. So I have in a month I'm going to be I'm being flown out to Beverly Hills, and so I'm going to be taking care of a client that's out there. So I'm excited. So
Wow.
yeah,
Can I go with you?
absolutely.
Would love to go there.
The more the merrier.
So, start wrapping the episode up a little. And this question I always ask, I always get different answers, and I always think the answers are very inspiring. So I'm excited to see what you're going to say. If you could go back in time and meet your 16, 20-year-old self, what advice or what would you tell her as an advice?
Oh gosh. So I would, that's a really good question. I'm trying to I'm trying to think about it. Um, I would say to, it's funny, I was thinking about this the other day, but everything that I was passionate about as a little girl, um, as I kind of got older, kind of over the years, people were like, oh, well, you can't do that. You got to grow up. You've got to be an adult. Like, so they pound it out of you, kind of your dreams, your hopes and your
Mm-hmm.
dreams. And now as an adult, it's like everything that I was passionate about when I was younger is everything that I'm doing now. So I would
Wow.
say, really hone into your natural abilities. So,
Yeah.
I've always been good at writing, and people are like, well, you can't be a writer. That's not going to make any money. Well, I've written a book. People all the times they would say, well, what are you good at? What are you good at? And I'm like, the only thing I'm good at is being nice. Like, that's the only thing. Like, I was like, I have no skills. Like, I don't know anything. And, so I'm and now I'm a caregiver. Now that's the biggest thing that people tell me is you're really nice, you're efficient, and you're professional. So those are the three things all the time that my patients tell me, their family members tell me. So I've kind of built a career off of that. And traveling, I love to travel. So now it's like I'm doing the post-op where, I'm traveling all over the place and getting paid to caregive, which is what I love, and meet other people. So I'm kind of living the dream right now.
That's awesome. I'm so happy for you. That's
Oh,
great. That's
thank
awesome.
you. Yeah, so definitely believe in your natural gifts and
Love that.
develop them. So that's would be my answer.
Love that.
Thank
So, CNA, speaker, author, caregiving coach, concierge for post-op, and then you're not going to stop there, I'm sure. So, what is next for Christina Miles?
So what is next is well, I recently bought a condo. So I'm getting involved in buying more real estate. So I'm excited about that. And I'm creating a course, a caregiving course, which is basically going to show kind of from start to finish the technical details of how to take care of people. So how to feed people, how to transfer, how to toilet, how to dress, how to shower. I'm going to go step by step and show the details of how I do it efficiently, how I do it with the most time management, best time management possible. And while also being able to have, really awesome conversations and really to take care of your patient the best that you can while you're doing care. So I'm excited for that course. I'm going to be filming that the middle of next month. So hopefully within like a few months it'll be up and running. So
That's so exciting. I can't
yeah.
wait to see that. I'm going to watch that.
Thank
That's so
you.
exciting.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well,
So
thank you.
oh, sorry,
Thank
go ahead.
you. No, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm good.
Okay. No, I was going to say thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure to have you on the show. Your story is so inspiring, and what you're doing to help others is also really inspiring. So it's always nice to highlight people like you in this show. And I really appreciate that you took the time to come on here.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye. See you soon.
Bye.